Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Fantastic Four issue number 249, cover dated December 1982. The cover is by John Byrne, pencils and inks by him, and it is a well-designed cover. We have a focus, of course, on the leader of the Shi'ar's Imperial Guard, that is Gladiator, and we have an interesting title there, Man and Superman. So this implication is, of course, that Gladiator is on a power level so much greater than any of the Fantastic Four that he's defeated them all there, including the Thing, who is of course the powerhouse of the Fantastic Four. And of course, in addition to all of that, there is a visual similarity between Gladiator and DC Comics Superman, and that is something that gets some play from Byrne in this particular issue too. One other thing I want to draw attention to before moving on from the cover is the cover corner box, because something that Byrne has taken to doing in the course of his run is to change the cover corner box every issue, and we get headshots and sometimes full figure shots of one or other of the Fantastic Four. In this particular corner box, you can see that the focus is on Sue Storm, but in other issues, it will be different members of the Fantastic Four. So every one of those corner boxes, issue to issue, is different, and that's a nice little touch by Byrne, attending to that level of detail. Now let's open this one up to the splash page. There are 22 pages of story and art in this issue. The cover caption is the title of this particular issue, Man and Superman, and we have a question asked: can the fabulous FF survive the ultimate confrontation? And then third person narration: finite yet unbounded, closed yet unmeasurable. Now, I would normally say immeasurable rather than unmeasurable. Maybe it's an Americanism, or maybe it's a Byrneism. Space, the imperturbable face of the cosmos, so vast that the greatest change may pass unnoticed. And here, near the wandering orbit of Pluto and Charon, for an instant, the shape of space is bent awry as a ship appears from the non-existence of hyperspace. And that little sigil there indicates that this is, of course, an alien race. And when we turn the page, we'll see which particular alien race of the Marvel Universe is piloting that ship. But before we do turn the page, let's have a look at the creative team down here. John Byrne, chronicler, so he's writer and artist, penciler and inker. Joe Rosen on letters, and George Roussos is the colorist. So let's get into this story. Who is it? Well, it turns out to be the Skrulls that are piloting this particular ship. And what's the situation? Well, the captain of the ship is unhappy with one of his crewmen. He upbraids him: offspring of epoxy Concorth, you did not fire the warp engines when I commanded. By all the devils of the nine circles, I swear, if he has succeeded in pursuing us through hyperspace, you will know the torture of 1,000 agonies. So the he in question is, of course, Gladiator, and we're told that he has indeed followed them. Without ship or spacesuit, without rocket or guidance systems, naked to space and uncaring, he plunges after the fleeing ship. He is Gladiator. He is angry. So, of course, it's Superman who can do that kind of thing, who can withstand the absolute zero of space, the airlessness of space, and so on and so forth. But it does make me wonder about Gladiator and how one could pursue a Kree ship through hyperspace without taking a breath. But anyway, it's comics, right? So we allow it. So the crewman there says perhaps there's yet a chance to salvage the ship, Supremor, if we execute maneuver 26. So what is that? The captain says there's no time. He closes in on us faster than the engines could respond, but we must not fail. I did not want this cursed ship and miserable crew, but I shall not see the mission ended before it is begun. The Empress has charged us with the destruction of the Fantastic Four, so that's what the Skrulls are doing in our solar system. And the captain continues, that is the most glorious goal any Skrull warrior could attain. If Gladiator thinks to stop us, let him beware. Old this ship may be and nearly useless, but there is yet one procedure even Gladiator must fear. So a switch is thrown within the ancient mechanisms, circuits close in readiness, and when Gladiator strikes, a star is born near Pluto. So what happened was the ship deliberately scuttled, exploded, with the intention of taking out Gladiator 2, or is there something else going on with that one procedure? Let's continue. The scene shifts to Earth, 2 or 3 billion miles away, and it's Central Park, Manhattan, and in the park we have the Thing and Johnny Storm. And the Thing says to Johnny, I gotta say, Torchy, you've taken your last helping of heartache better than I expected. I'm proud of you, kid. And Johnny replies, maybe I'm just getting used to it all, Ben. You know what they say about lucky at cards and lucky in love. The way my love life's been going, I feel like I should buy a ticket to Las Vegas. But who is this figure over here entertaining a crowd in the park? It turns out to be Julie. And she is Julie Angel, the former flatmate of, Frankie Ray, who became Galactus's latest herald in previous issues of Fantastic Four, specifically issue 244. So Johnny is surprised to see her. Is that you under all that goop? None other, she says. Have you been keeping? So maybe there's a new romance in prospect here. Johnny introduces Ben Grimm, and Julie's taken aback a little bit. The Thing, right? This is the first time she's met him. Pleased to meet you, she says. And the Thing replies, likewise. Listen, kid, I'm going to mosey on back home to the Baxter building. But we just left there, says Johnny. And Julie gets it, that maybe she's offended, the Thing. But off he goes. So let's continue with the story there. She says it to Johnny. Geez, I'm sorry, Johnny. That was just incredibly dumb and stupid of me. I realize he must hate being called the Thing. And Johnny replies, nah, he's used to it by now. He probably just forgot something back at our headquarters. But that's not the case, as we'll see when we get to his thoughts. Now, this panel here, I like aspects of it. I like the fact that Julie's forgotten, that it's communicated in the visuals, that she's forgotten the play that she was part of. And there is her fellow actor looking over at her hands on hips with some annoyance that she is walking off with Johnny. So engrossed is she in his company. And also I want to comment on this particular style of Byrne's. When he has characters walking, sometimes he'll tilt them forward at a slight diagonal. And for me, it doesn't work. There's something odd about the way that Johnny's walking there. He does it a few times. And yeah, as I say, I'm just not, it looks like he's about to topple over. So there's something off about that, for me at least. So what about the Thing, and what about his morose thoughts? She was scared, he thinks to himself. She tried to hide it, but I scared her. And why not? I should have seen this coming. I've been getting too comfortable being the Thing lately. I should have known something was on its way to remind me I'm still a monster. So that is forever, or so it would appear, Ben's fate, to be cursed with a monstrous appearance, but blessed with super strength that he can use in situations like this to save this girl from the runaway horse. And by the way, if I was critical of Johnny at that, doing that tilted walking there, got to give Byrne great credit for his work on the runaway horse here, particularly in this anchor image panel, because animals are hard to draw, horses in particular, and Byrne himself has said numerously that he is not 100% comfortable drawing animals. So drawing a horse in motion, I think he's done a great job there. And I'm sure he was looking at old Western comics by some of his favorite artists, as well as, I'm sure, photo reference too. So the horse's flight abruptly halted. The horse grows still, and the Thing here is met by the girl's mother, who rewards him with a big smack on the rocky lips. You're the Thing. Oh, thank you, she exclaims repeatedly. So here we have an interesting scene where the Thing is all upset because he's reminded of his monstrous appearance, but his ability to use his super strength to save people always wins him respect, adulation, and people who do not fear and are not put off by his rocky appearance. So he thinks to himself there, boy, if I could only blush. And then he sees the emergency flare. So off he goes. I like the tilted angle here, the Dutch angle, as the thing runs through Central Park back to the Baxter building, and he sees the Human Torch there, also having seen the signal and making his way back, and he'll get there first, even as the thing thinks to himself that he's going to have to catch a cab. So Johnny thinks to himself as he flies between the skyscraper canyons of Manhattan, I hated to cut and run on Julie like that. I've been avoiding her. Since she used to be Frankie's roomie, I thought seeing her might be too painful, but you know, it wasn't painful at all. So he also continues there and says, I've been keeping pretty much to myself since Frankie left. Maybe it's time that changed. So is he going to date the roommate now? He alights onto the rooftop of the Baxter building, and I think that that's a really nice drawing of him about to touch down. Special scanners probe and identify the Human Torch. The Baxter building defenses open to admit him. And here's Byrne doing his version of something Jack Kirby did on the original Fantastic Four run, giving us a cutaway look at the Baxter building and all the different floors and what their purpose and function are. So we've got the passenger intercontinental ballistic missile in silo there, special baffles and ducts to vent noise and exhaust of rocket launch into substrata of the Earth's crust. So it's all thought out in terms of how this would work and how you could launch it in the middle of Manhattan and not destroy the surrounding buildings. There on the 5th floor, there's a hangar, and there's also hydraulics there for retractable observatory. So we see the top of the observatory there and there. And then the 4th floor, astrosciences and negative zone access. 3rd floor, physics and chemistry labs, cryogenics, energy research. 2nd floor, biology labs and gymnasium. And then the 1st floor is the living quarters and visitor reception area. And also then there's a buffer zone between these top stories or floors of the Baxter building, and then the air conditioning and elevator mechanics for lower 30 floors, and then below that the offices of Fantastic Four Incorporated. Remember, Reed Richards has bought the building outright now, and so it is the property of Fantastic Four Incorporated. And in the Celestial Scanning Lab, so up here, Reed is looking through a telescope. An explosion of almost nova proportions near Pluto, Johnny, he says. That's the reason for the flare. I'm monitoring it now, he says. It seems to be subsiding rapidly. And he says to Johnny's question about whether this is an emergency or not, for one thing, Johnny, that explosion would have annihilated half the solar system unless it was being somehow deliberately contained. And for another, by a very nasty coincidence, a piece of debris from that blast is heading straight for Earth. Okay, so I got it. I think I figured it out what the Skrulls did there. They did blow up the ship, but they expected to blow up the whole solar system and take out the planet Earth, even from the range of 2 or 3 billion miles away at Pluto. And it must have been Gladiator contained the blast, but the piece of debris, who or what could that be? It's that scrap of shrapnel, Sue, says Reed. It just hit the upper atmosphere. So this is a really good build-up to what comes next. Let's turn the page. And it is the arrival of Gladiator. So we get a nice top-down view of the Midtown Manhattan traffic jam that Ben finds himself in the back of the cab. Blasted rubberneckers. He says, I ain't got time for this. Blow your blamed horn at them. So here is touching down Gladiator. And when he bellows his arrival, though the language is alien, the tone is unmistakable. So the thing gets out of the yellow cab. That sounds an awful lot like a challenge, he says. I'd better find out who this bozo is. I hope the civilians have the sense to stay in their cars out of harm's way. So Gladiator is a Marvel character that we're used to seeing over in the X-Men comics, but this is the first encounter between Gladiator and the Fantastic Four. And as I've said before, in this period of Byrne's run on the title. In situations like this, like fight scenes, he is now prepared to open up the page to 3 and 4 panel layouts in order to give emphasis to the art. So we see the fight choreography here as Gladiator picks up this automobile with a couple in it and throws it directly at the Thing, who catches it. I don't know who this clown thinks he is, but he obviously ain't gonna fight clean, thinks the Thing. I better take him out fast before somebody really gets hurt. So let's see. This is a great layout on this page, these diagonal panels, 4 of them, and the Thing replaces the car on the ground as Gladiator flies towards him and punches him with a right hook all the way through the cars behind in the traffic jam. So you can see that. It's really, really well done. And the Thing there is groggy. Wow, don't think I've ever been hit that hard. So let's continue with this. The pace is speedy, and Gladiator picks the Thing up by his shirt, his ruined shirt. Eyes that seem to see beyond the normal spectrum, declares the third person narration, scan the mighty towers surrounding them, fixing at last on one particular edifice. Then, in one terrible swift motion, he hurls the Thing right through one of the top floors of the Baxter building. So a really great sequence there, really nicely choreographed by Byrne. So the Thing there, he's groggy, and he falls unconscious. So everybody's aghast at that. Next of all, the room they're in starts tilting. The building, it's tipping, exclaims Reed. Sue, use your force field. So she does. My force field has blocked the hole, but the building is still rocking. So to prevent them from falling out the side of the skyscraper, Reed, what can it be, an earthquake? Asks Sue. And he replies, with the special shock absorbers I built into the foundations, the building could ride out an earthquake without so much as a tremor. This must be something more. And then he looks out the hole in the side of the building and he sees who it is. Let's get past the advertisements here. And what a great panel this one is. Look at that for 1 point perspective on the Baxter building there. It really gives you a sense of the scale. Remember, there's supposed to be 30 floors below the top floors that have to do with the Fantastic Four, their living quarters, labs, and so on and so forth. 35 stories to the incredible, down to the bottom as the Gladiator's lifting up the whole building. And Reed says, looking down again, great use of perspective there. That costumed man, he's uprooted the whole Baxter building, but that's impossible. Even with the reinforced superstructure, the building should crumble under its own weight. So that's an interesting observation that Byrne has written in there for Gladiator. Gladiator has got powers other than super strength, and Byrne will hint at them in the course of this issue and the next. So the Human Torch goes into action, and he strafes, or rather he tries to pin down, that's better to say, pin down Gladiator with spears of fire. And he says here, okay, Mr. Muscle, if you're here to publicize the latest new wave rock group, we ain't interested, because of his Mohican, of course. You may be super strong, but this flame cage should hold you until Reed figures out what to do with you. But Gladiator flies straight out of that. Johnny braces for Gladiator's attack, punches him, and quickly learns his opponent possesses more than strength and flight. So Human Torch thinks, he hit me so fast I didn't even see him move. I'm lucky my ribs aren't caved in. That's a really great drawing there as he hugs his sides from the pain. No wonder he was able to take out the Thing. The Human Torch thinks, I've never seen so much power in someone that human looking. He didn't seem too bothered by my flame at normal intensity either. Let's see how he likes in a controlled Nova Blast. So that's Johnny's hottest flame. And how will Gladiator deal with that? Well, he'll just stand there and laugh. And from the heart of that awesome fire, Gladiator laughs. And isn't that such a Superman pose? I mean, like, that's definitely what Byrne is going for. And also, in respect of what Gladiator does next, So he blows out the Human Torch's fire. And of course, this is all in the wake of not just the pre-Crisis Superman comics, when Superman had powers like that, super breath and so on and so forth, but also the two Superman movies, the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, Superman 1 and Superman 2, where he also used the super breath as well. And I think that Byrne is kind of alluding to those movies also in this particular issue. So, the action sequences, I mean. So he blew me out, thinks Johnny, like I was a 2-cent candle. Who is this guy? So Reed catches him, and then finally he pulls out his universal translator, and he's able to hear what Gladiator has to say. You know full well who I am, he says to Mr. Fantastic. I'm Gladiator, Praetor of the Imperial Guard of the Shi'ar Empire. Do not seek to mock me, Skrull. So Gladiator thinks that the Fantastic Four are Skrulls impersonating them. And then Reed is intrigued. Skrull? Great Scott, now I understand your hostility. But we're not Skrulls, we're the Fantastic Four. We too have fought the Skrulls. So Gladiator's confused, maybe because of that explosion. I was pursuing Skrulls. They'd encroached upon Imperial space. But something happened, something. And then he turns and says, no, this is some devious Skrull trick. You cannot deceive me. I'm a sworn enemy of the Skrulls, and I will destroy you all. For Shi'ar, for the Empress Lilandra. So, of course, this is a staple of Marvel Comics. You know, the misunderstanding that leads characters to fight each other when they should be working together. Or at least not hostile to each other. So, will Gladiator get the best of the Fantastic Four? He says here, let us see how you fare when I've stretched you out 1,000 miles. So Sue sees this happening. I've got to do something. When he shifts his grip, she thinks, and then she catches him in a force bubble. Got him. He's impossibly strong, she thinks, but my invisible force field has held the Hulk. But he's there pressing at the limits of the force field, and he manages ultimately to overcome Sue's force field, and she's knocked to the ground. And who sees that? Oh, she's knocked to the ground from feedback, not a punch. And who sees it except for Franklin Richards? And Franklin is a mutant with potential tremendous power, including the power to alter reality. And we're told in the narrative captions that deep within his mutant brain, something stirs. Power ripples through the dark channels of his psyche. I'm going to hurt you, he says, with determination on his face. Power which once threatened to lay waste to the world. Let's continue here. But we're told power which ultimately finds no avenue of release. Weeks ago, in Fantastic Four 245, Franklin himself placed psychic dampers within his brain, blocking the use of his nearly unlimited power. Now at a time when that power could be most of service, those blocks hold. So Gladiator has defeated the Fantastic Four. There's the thing he's coming to, and he thinks to himself, don't see Johnny or Reed, but Susie looks in real bad shape. Got to take one more run at this clown. Got to stop him no matter what it takes. So he rushes him and tackles him out the hole in the side of the building. And of course he exclaims, we got to have it once per issue, his trademark battle cry, it's clobbering time. So one page of letters here. Let's move past those because the story is not over yet. Let's continue. 2 final pages. This should have been on a page turn, obviously. But anyway, so Gladiator hurls the thing to the ground, picks up a bus and smashes it over him. Again, I'm getting kind of memories of Superman 2 and the battle against Zod and the Kryptonians in Midtown Manhattan. But this is really, really well drawn and choreographed by Byrne. And then the narrative caption declares, Gladiator's victory cry shatters windows for blocks around. He's without doubt that no one on all this tiny world is a match for him, till he hears words in his own tongue. So they're speaking Shi'ar. You are not victor yet, warrior of the Shi'ar, nor shall you be until you vanquished us. And who is it? Well, it looks like the X-Men with Cyclops, Colossus, Storm, and Nightcrawler. But what is going on? And that is something you'll never do, declares Nightcrawler. So it's been a while. It's been more than a year and a half since John Byrne left the X-Men because of creative differences with Chris Claremont, the writer, and was awarded Fantastic Four to write and draw by Jim Shooter. But here he is. He has, via this story, come up with a reason and an excuse to draw the X-Men again. And of course, many readers at the time would have been really enjoying his return to drawing these particular characters and writing them. So we'll see what it's all about in the next issue, which is a 250th Slam Bang celebration. And also, there'll be Captain America and Spider-Man guest starring in a story entitled X Factor. So intriguing stuff. There's the letters page. Nothing 100% interesting there. And that is it. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on Fantastic Four number 249. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. Really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.